All rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Alvarez.
Here.
Councilman Cullen.
Here.
Councilwoman Eckhart.
Here.
Councilwoman Hudak.
Here.
Supervisor Hay.
Here. Notation of the exits in the rear and the front. Let's see. Electronic devices, please put them on vibrate or shut them off. And the first item on the agenda this evening is a public hearing for Chapter 39 alarm systems. I make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Chapter 39 of the Code of the Town of Southeast, to clarify certain terms, reconstitute the Alarm Appeal Board as the Town Board, eliminate inconsistencies, and normalize the provisions relating to the fees for alarm permits and fines charged for violations of Chapter 39. Anyone from the public wish to speak to the issue? Seeing none, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next is Chapter 54, Building Construction and Fire Protection. I make a motion to open that public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This is to amend Chapter 54 of the Code of the Town of Southeast entitled Building, Construction, and Fire Prevention to include the provision of proposed Chapter 56 of the Town Code as enforcement responsibilities of the Town Code enforcement personnel, copies of which may attend the Crown Clerk and here this evening. Basically, for these properties that go, this is mainly for the properties that go unmowed, very unkept is the word we would
Isn't
use.
that, we're on
We're on-
building construction and fire prevention, not property maintenance?
Yeah, I think we're on this other one
Wait a
first.
second.
Property maintenance.
Yeah, chapter 54. Here, do you want mine, Tony?
Yeah. Chapter, you know what?
What?
To include, oh, it's to include 56. Okay.
Okay.
It still reads the same as I read it.
Okay.
Except 56 is the next one, which is not the minor one. Okay. So let me just see for 1 second. Now that I got that confused, that's the right one. Chapter 54. That's 56. Okay, Chapter 54 is included in this. It's basically, we're adding in Chapter 54, Chapter 56. It's one page, we're putting in one word on that, where we had to have a public hearing for it.
Under A, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, anyone here to the public to speak to that? Seeing none, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the last one will be the property maintenance, which is Chapter 56, of which we just put into 54. Again, what I just read earlier, amend 54, the Town of Code of Southeast, building, fire protection, and basically this is like a kind of a zombie law. We have these properties that go on highly unkept, don't mow their lawns, or give the opportunity for the town to go in after notifying the banks, notifying the property owner. The process probably takes about 30 days total. And if people don't maintain the properties, give the town the right to go in there and maintain those properties. Anyone speak to that item?
Well, I think we have to open the public hearing.
Didn't we do it?
Not on this
We didn't
one.
have
Oh,
a second.
Okay. Is there a
Second.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is this just residential, or is it also commercial properties? And what could be done with commercial zombie locations?
Well, if you've got commercial zombies, let us know, because I don't know, I mean.
It does
if you're
apply to
talk-
both, though.
Yeah, but if you're on like, certain ones, how do we answer it?
And I know that's why.
We have a lot of in court, okay. Okay, yes, it has a commercial.
It is
Both.
also commercial?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thanks.
I mean, I know New York State started a program where they will go after, you were there at that press conference, the Department of Financial Services will be going after banks that have mortgages to force them to,
We can make it more restrictive. Theirs we consider to be less restrictive, so this gives us the hammer which to make them do it.
no,
Well, and also to do it ourselves and bill back,
Well, that's it,
correct?
that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
that's
In other
back
words,
in
what the state has
taxes.
now is, it's there, but, you know,
Right.
we continually try to bring people to court and have them answer, especially the banks,
Right.
and they're just not responsive.
Well, the problem is I think a lot of the banks that have the mortgages are not local banks. They may
Yeah.
be like Bank of America is based out of North Carolina and.
I
you know,
make
that's
no
part of the
excuses for
problem.
them,
No, but that's the problem, that
Yep.
they're not, it's not like they're down the street where we could,
Right.
you know, go tell the manager, go cut the grass, you know, so.
And in many instances, you don't even know which bank has it because they sell their notes.
Right, they sell the notes.
And they don't have to let you know.
Will probably know the answer to this, and I'm sure these are standard fines. Bless
There you
you. Can they be any higher, or is this just a standard?
Well, that's a fine.
I know.
The property will be maintained, and there's a fine.
No, I know, but is it, is like,
Fines are
Dictated,
meted
right?
out by
Yeah.
judges. We can set the limitations. Generally, they're within the authorizing statute.
right, okay.
So, but you can make it so that the fines accumulate each day, each
Right.
week.
And in this case, let's see, each week, each such violation shall continue, shall be deemed to be a separate and distinct offense?
Yes.
Okay,
So then if there's a maximum fine of, you know, X amount of dollars for that particular offense, each week, you can impose the maximum.
right. So you'd say that's pretty standard for the first offense, a fine not to exceed $250?
Well, it's in keeping with our
Everything,
other
right.
building violation.
Okay, okay. It's always fun to get money from a bank, but I'm sure that this
Because I
is,
think one of the things that this facilitates is that ultimately, once the fines are imposed, we can then assess them against the property.
taxes,
Right.
right? Yeah. Okay, great, thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Seeing none, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I make a motion to go into the work session portion of our meeting.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the first item is discussion of Chapter 131, Vehicles and Traffic, Section 131-39, Reduced Speed Limit Lower than Town-Wide Speed Limit on Drovers Lane, Acord Road, and Orchard Court. And they would like to go from 30 down to 15, but the recommendation of the town highway superintendent is from 30 to 20 miles per hour. I know the resident that had this interested and brought it to our attention is not here this evening. She's been in contact with me, and they would like 15, but again, I would look more toward the recommendation of the highway department, and they said 20. And where this is located, in case you don't know, it's Springhouse Estates up off of Foggentown Road. It's kind of a no outlet type area, the 3 roads that go in. There's only one way in, one way out. And most of the residents and most of the problems they're encountering are within their own, believe it or not. So it's a good start. I know they've been in touch with the sheriff's department about putting up speed limit, the signs that tell you how fast you're going. So I don't have a problem forwarding this for a recommendation for 20 miles an hour and putting on the next agenda.
I think, it's always about enforcement, as we all know. And Massachusetts, I go up a lot, and the speed limits are very low there. And it's really, when people have to drive 20, they're going to really feel it. But if it's enforced a few times, maybe that would help. But it's amazing, the difference between 30 and 20 even, and I'm sure they go a lot faster now, so.
Keep in mind that the town will also have to bear the expense of posting the lower speed limit. So
Right.
it's not something that we can pass on to the motorists, so to speak, or the homeowners within that area.
Right.
It would be a town-wide charge.
And I would think there might be other cul-de-sacs and areas, that might also want to do this, so it could be costly.
That's my concern, is that, if every group in a cul-de-sac, whatever, comes forward, and once the signs change and speed reduce, there would be an expense to the town changing the signs. And if there's not gonna be any enforcement, it doesn't make a difference. You could have the sign say anything. And the people that are speeding, it's not a through road, it's people that live in that neighborhood, so.
Or visiting.
Or visiting, right, but,
Well, it's not much our residents ask, I mean, if they want it reduced, I mean, something like Brewster Heights now, that's completely different because it's got numerous roads, whatever. But this is a very small, concise, and actually the people there know who's actually speeding. They could tell you who the neighbor is, but they don't want to get their neighbors upset, so they're, putting it on kind of us in a sense. But the bottom line to it, it is enforcement, state police, sheriff's department, but this is, I mean, when someone does it, you can't be everywhere at once.
Well, that's the issue, exactly.
I mean,
you know,
people
and-
drive constantly with their cell phones, I mean, you see it every minute, of the day. There's, there's enforcement, but they'll put the speed limit thing up there, the people know, but it's 54 residents that really have the problem amongst themselves. So we'll do it, I believe we're gonna do what they ask and go from there. Now,
Well, I think fundamentally, though, what the concern is that would there be additional neighborhoods that would ask us to do
Well,
that?
that's what I'm saying.
And then
It's a
if there's
slippery
additional
slope.
neighborhoods that would point to this neighborhood, and obviously, I know that neighborhoods had a lot of, different issues, but then they'll point to this neighborhood and say, hey, how about us? And I think really, I don't know how much signs cost or how many you have to post, but clearly, I think that's what's the other concern. I think the enforcement is a concern townwide, all over. I mean, we changed the speed limit here to, what's it, 30 when you come up here, and I still see cars speeding like mad, so, once
And I see a lot
again.
of the violators in court every day.
Do they
Oh, they issue a lot of tickets right out here.
right out here, that's good, because the bottom line is, that's what it's about. But I think fundamentally what you're calling an issue is whether or not, if we do it for this
Right.
neighborhood,
How could
whether
we
it's
say
going
no?
Tony,
to.
How could
this
we
will-
say to another?
This will have a public hearing?
pardon?
Will this have a public hearing?
Is
Yes,
this the-
it's a
yes.
local law.
Law.
You'd be adopting a
Okay.
local law establishing a lesser than the
Right.
currently established townwide speed limit of 30 miles an hour at specific locations. So any community that would come in the future would also have to
Have to
go
have a-
through a further amendment.
Would it be possible then, could we get an estimate, just so we know from Michael
For the
about?
public hearing, I'll find out what the cost of the sign is.
Well, not just that time, but what, if we do have to update this with a lot of neighborhoods? I mean, we can look at a map and figure it out.
Well,
I
there
don't mind
could be a
doing
ton
it.
of them.
Yeah, I know there could,
um,
and that's fine. We just want to make sure.
Cobb Road, they constantly
I
complain
know.
because people
Well,
cut
that
through
is a
there,
cut, yeah,
To
shortcut.
hop onto 84, Storage Road, it could just open up. a
Look at
can of
Milltown
worms.
Road.
Look
Right,
at, look
well,
at
that's another thing.
Federal Hill Road where I live. I mean, people
Yeah.
cut through there
Yeah.
to go to Connecticut and back.
Yeah,
I thought the towns couldn't have less than a 30-mile-an-hour speed limit except for school zones. Am I
I
mistaken?
believe that if you adopt a local law, in certain instances, you can bring it down, but I'll look into it again. It's been a while since I did that research, but I know that you can't go below 15 miles an hour.
Right. Right, 15 I thought was just for school zones, and I thought that couldn't be less
Well,
than.
we're not gonna go to 15 on
No,
this
no,
one.
I know, right, exactly.
but let's, we should figure this out, and just so we know, when we pass it, that we're able to do this, accommodate other neighborhoods
With
that
opening
want
up.
it.
Well, it's on a case-by-case basis like anything else we do.
Yeah, but it'd be difficult to,
Yeah.
Say
Say
one,
no to.
Yes,
Well,
it would,
you know.
it would.
well, we do with other things, we can do with this too.
No, I know, but,
establishing a precedent, and I get it.
I mean, I know a lot of people then who would say, oh, Maple Road, they would love that.
Right, Maple
Or-
Road, Old Milltown Road, a dirt road.
I'm not saying that's
uh,
bad or good, I'm just,
No, it does kind of,
It
you
just-
could be spending a lot of money on signs. So.
right, and if we have it, that's fine. I just think we should go into
And
it.
it's still, if there's no enforcement.
In other words,
though,
not
there's nothing-
schedule the public hearing until we have that.
Well, we can have
information.
that information
We'll have
by,
it for,
you
Well, we
know.
could have the public hearing, but we
Yeah.
don't have to take action.
Okay, but we have to have the public hearing subject to your,
Right.
to Willis's making certain that that's something.
and
that
what
we
do you
can
want for that public hearing, did you say?
The price of the sign.
Well, we'll need the price of the signs, and then we can figure out from maps, I can sit down,
Oh,
maybe.
you know, you're gonna be, just take the number of roads in the town and
Yeah, well,
each
that's-
one wants it.
Yeah, and where,
I mean-
is it two, we can figure this out, it's not rocket science, but I think we should, that's all.
No,
So
but
we're
Brewster
prepared.
Heights would definitely want it, I'm sure,
Right.
because I know they complain, like I said, Cobb Road,
Right.
Maple, Old
Right.
Milltown.
Well, now we're getting crazy, because I'm saying, now, there's,
Well, I know.
where's the enforcement now for one road, let
Well,
alone every
I
road in
think
the
that's
town?
what Bob pointed out at the outset, Tony. I mean, you can enforce this at 20 miles an hour, or you can enforce it at 30 miles an hour, but you cannot enforce it at either speed.
Right.
Right,
And that's the problem. And we don't have a local police force. We have to rely on the sheriff's office. The state police don't usually do speed interdiction on town roads. So it's really just sort of, in my personal opinion, that it's kind of like a feel-good thing that's not going to get anything done.
I mean, I don't mind if, any roads coming forward to ask for this, if we can make sure that we can afford it throughout the town, should the worst-case scenario happen. That's all we need to know, so we're educated and,
I just don't know how we could say no to one street after we say yes to another.
Right, that's why I want to have the information. So I think, I don't have any problem scheduling a public hearing, though.
No,
on this.
we could do that, that's fine. But
Yeah,
When we put in the Peach Lake Sewer District, I went down there and we tried to get another road cut in instead of using the one going
Right.
through a neighborhood. And when
I
the state
remember.
came out, we asked, they said about the speed limit, and they said, well, the practicality of speed, he says, you can lower the speed anything you want.
Right.
But the thing is, if we set out here and to, judge each car and take a test of the speed that they're doing, he says you're gonna find it doing about 55 miles an hour. So dropping it to 20 is gonna serve no purpose. So they wouldn't lower it at all,
They
knowing
wouldn't.
the practicality, it's not gonna happen.
right,
And the same would be with this as well.
could be. So
Okay.
we can set a public hearing, see what the public wants.
Well,
and- I mean, not tonight,
yeah.
but.
Well, we can set the public hearing this evening. As a matter of fact,
Well, you
I
have
already
it
did.
set,
Right.
so, right.
Yeah.
It's already being set. And we'll
Right.
just get the price of the signs,
Yep.
and you can count the roads.
I'll be
Just don't
happy to.
count county and state roads.
Okay.
Okay. There's a lot of roads, trust me. Okay.
I know. I can talk to Mike.
Next is discussion of the fee schedule for the highway department. He's asked us permit, these are not currently in the highway department fee schedule. They want a permit to perform work within the town's right-of-way as $100. They want stormwater connection permits to be $100, and work performed prior to permit issuance, which happens a lot, at $150. So this doesn't require a local, this is just our town fee schedule.
You'd adopt this,
Yeah.
the fee schedule, but I think one of those sounds to me more like a fine than a
Which,
fee.
the one about not getting your permit when you're supposed
Work
to?
performed prior to
Work performed
Oh,
permit
you
prior
want-
to
you
issuance.
want you want us to reword it? Well, we already have something in our code previous to this on something else, where they do it after the fact.
In our code, so then, if
In
they
our-
violate the
in our
code.
fee schedule,
In our
correct.
fee schedule?
Yeah.
In what area?
I don't recall, but I came across it when I was doing this.
So you get a permit,
After the fact.
you get a permit for work
I think they
that you
should be getting a
performed before.
summons for issuing,
Oh, it's added to the cost of the permit.
is that what the village does?
We do have that. If you do something without a permit and you discover it, you have to get the permit, and it costs you more because you didn't get it before you did what you had to do with the permit.
So would it be an election of remedies if it was something that they shouldn't have done, that you're going to fine them?
Well, I think the way it's, in most of the jurisdictions that I've worked in over the years, it's usually, if somebody does something without a permit, they get issued a criminal summons,
Right.
essentially. And they can't get the permit until they resolve the criminal
Right.
summons. So, again, if you're imposing a penalty, I don't know that you can put that in a fee schedule.
Well, apparently, the village has done,
Village law might be different.
But there's always the possibility that the village law does, the New York State village law does have grant authority in those instances, but my sense is that
Okay, we'll put this, I'll table this until our next meeting. You can research it in the meantime and tell us how you want it worded. We did have it the other way originally, and then they decided to put it in this way. So, table. I make a motion to table to the next meeting.
second,
All in favor?
aye.
Okay. The regular meeting, I make a motion to go into the regular portion of the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You know something? Do you have the amounts for tonight?
It's on the top.
Where'd it go?
Oh,
What are you looking for?
the thing we signed.
The only person that really needed to know was me, and I don't have it. Okay. Okay, they all signed up. Okay. Do we make the motion to go into this?
No.
No? I made the motion to go into regular meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Waive the reading of the correspondence.
That's what he did.
Approval of the voucher list, $800,985.76. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Setting of the meeting dates and public hearings. All meetings will be held at 1360 Route 22, Brewster, New York, at 7 p.m. unless otherwise noted. Thursday, June 8, 2017, we're going to set a public hearing, Chapter 131, Vehicles and Traffic, Section 131-39, reduce speed limit lower than the town-wide speed limit on Drovers Lane, Acorn Road, and Orchard Court. And a meeting on Thursday, June 22nd, 2017. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 4 is budget transfers. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 5. Number 5, it's a resolution to approve 2017 MS4 annual report.
I'll second.
And that's all it says, is now therefore to be resolved, the adoption of the 2017 MS annual report. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A lot of work behind the scene goes into that report, I have to admit. So it's a lot of work, and we just ate it like a quick turkey dinner. But they do a lot of work, believe me, a lot.
Yes.
Okay, resolution number 7 is order calling for a public hearing, increasing the amount to be spent for capital improvements, Peaceful Hill Water Districts. So move.
Excuse me, we skipped over the Set Bond Storage subdivision. That's Resolution 6.
Okay.
I mean, I don't
Okay,
have.
nope, I got it here now. Okay, resolved that the bond amount shall be established for the project set forth below. Star Ridge subdivision, site improvements, bond amount $16,000, and be further resolved that a certified copy of the resolution shall be transmitted by the town clerk to the planning board secretary and building inspector forthwith. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now we're to an order calling for a public hearing, increasing the amount to be set for capital improvements, Peaceful Hill Water District. It is quite, well, it's not as lengthy it is, but everyone on Peaceful Hill, I'm going to be sending out a letter to you on Monday next week with what we have here this evening. And the public hearing will identify the cost that you'll be paying for your water as best as we can. Now, what we did was almost 2.5 years ago with the numbers, so they've changed more than slightly. So make sure when you get it, if you don't see it, call us, we'll get it to you. But it'll be going out from our office on Monday. You should have it by Wednesday. And the public hearing will be set for, again, we just said,
June 8th.
June 8th, 2017, in this building. Okay, I move that resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next is the supervisor's financial report. And again, even though it's May, almost June, things are good. I know, Lynn, you don't like it. Maybe, do you like to hear that better than what you used to?
Well, no, I always wanted to hear that it was good. It's just I didn't hear that it was good.
Okay, it's good. And other than that,
When you had asked that to be added on to authorize you to do the license for the storage container on 62 Main Street and for the temporary easement for the ramp.
okay. Okay, that's good. I'm going to make a motion to waive the rules for some additional. As you know, the library was in front of us last meeting. I had asked Will to prepare something, and here it is.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So this is for the Brewster Public Library. They asked for a few things the last time. They're going to receive 2 of those this evening. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town Southeast hereby authorizes the supervisor to execute a temporary license to permit the placement of a storage container on a portion of the parking lot located at 67 Main Street, Brewster, New York, for a period not to exceed 1 year in the form and substance prepared by the town attorney. And be further resolved that the supervisor be and is hereby authorized to execute and deliver an easement agreement in a form and substance approved by the town attorney to permit the library to place a ramp on the other structure on town-owned property for the purpose of temporarily facilitating access to the lower level of the library structure located adjacent to town-owned parking lot located at 67 Main Street, Brewster, New York. So moved for discussion.
I'll second it.
Discussion.
Where it can be said that that's access to the lower level of the library, it's
Well,
actually.
it's the
the
same
back-
level.
It's really the yard.
You want to say
because-
backyard?
I think we
Rear-
should because
rear
they
yard?
already have access to the lower level. And there's no door that I know of back there. So,
Ramp.
When they were explaining to me, I didn't see any drawing, but I thought that there was some, that the reason for having a ramp there was to
Get into the
allow essentially handicapped access into that back area.
Yes, that's
to
what
the
they're-
area, yeah, the area, not into the building, that's all. That's the only
It's
difference.
on the back, they have a lawn on the back of the building.
Yes.
They want to get from the parking, which is about this much, they want to put a ramp so they access. Okay,
So it's not
so,
to access the building, it's,
so how do you want to change the wording? A ramp or the lower level? Or the
mean,
back,
they
the
did-
rear,
The grass.
the rear portion?
Well,
Didn't
it
they-
is the
They had a
yard.
picture, didn't they have
Yeah,
a
they
picture?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have it with me, I
Yeah.
only have the.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, it's to the yard.
yeah, to
so
the, to the
so it
rear.
says facilitating access to the rear.
Grass zone.
the
Well,
rear of the
outdoor
li-
area?
The rear of the library structure.
Right.
Yeah.
The
that's
rear
all.
yard of the
Rear
library. structure.
yard, that
Or
works.
outdoor property or whatever, or to the rear property is fine. Whatever you want to use, Will, is fine, but.
Okay.
I mean, it is,
I know,
We know what it is.
it's better to be as accurate as possible. I
Right.
don't want to
Okay.
be,
Okay, as the mover, I accept the change. Seconder?
I'll second.
And
No, did anyone second it prior to? Michelle?
No, I did.
yeah. What, Tony?
Did Bob second this motion initially?
Take it, okay. Yes, Bob did.
Okay, you approve the change as well.
my other question is, and I'm not, well, I went out and looked, but where did you decide?
We
We don't
left
know
it
yet.
open. We're going to
Okay.
talk and, get the best place for it and not
For the
make it an
container.
eyesore to the village.
Okay.
Because you had those
That's-
questions about the next.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and we're
that-
going to work on it. The main
Okay.
thing is they're going to have permission to do it and we're going to
Yeah.
determine the best place
It was going to
for
save them a lot of money, so, it would, otherwise they'd have to rent a storage place and transport it, so,
No, it'll work. We just don't want it to be an eyesore.
right, okay.
Okay, the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Will, thanks for getting that done. The library would be very happy. And as soon as you've got that, you know where to send it.
No, we still have
We're going to
do
forgive
the
all
one
those
for
overdue fines.
The other property.
Well,
Oh,
that's
more complex,
big, big number.
yeah.
Okay, anyone from the public wish to speak this evening? Yes,
Your public hearing for the water district, what time?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
Thank you.
Anyone from the public? Fellow board members?
I have something, but I can wait. if
Go.
other people- Okay. I attended the Public County Shared Services Initiative today, and what I found out that I didn't know, the county is trying to work with the towns to come up with money-saving measures. Very little was, not so much was discussed today, it was just the overall view, and we've done this, we've gone down this road before. But I do want to alert the public because these are public hearings. They are held at the Putnam County Training and Operations Center. And the next one, everything has to be done, I think, by August 1st or September 1st and into Albany if there are, and there is a financial incentive, a dollar-for-dollar match if we do save money at the county level. So the next meeting is Tuesday, June 20th at 4 p.m. And the last meeting is Tuesday, July 18th at 10 a.m. And if anyone does have ideas that they'd like us to consider, especially from Southeast, I'm happy to submit them. You can contact us by email or phone, whatever's easier. I had asked, I think the big picture is a lot more interesting and a lot more important about consolidating actual governments because there are so many, but I don't think they're going to look at anything like this because of the time frame. I think it's going to be smaller shared services. So I just wanted to alert the public that that is what's going on right now.
I mean, I think the biggest shared service possibility is plowing the snow in the wintertime. You know, the county does their roads.
Plow up, plow down.
Yeah, I mean, the town does theirs. The town goes through the village to get to the other parts of the town with the plow up. The state DOT does their roads, so that,
Right.
I think, would be a huge savings. But that would be up to the highway superintendents
Right.
to see if it's feasible, I guess.
Yeah, and
Well,
we,
they have other plans which I won't say publicly yet, but they have other plans that they think are better savings. But they've already done a study on one of them back in 2008. It did not fly, but that seems to be the one with the asterisk next to it at this point in time. But, and it's not that.
right, but yes, I agree, and the school, some of the school districts were there as well.
But I believe it's optional for them as far as the state, well, the state is requiring towns and villages
Oh, yes,
to do shared services with the county.
No,
But
not with the
it's-
county, with other
Well, with
municipalities.
other municipalities, but I believe that it's like, from what I've read in the paper, it's optional for school districts at this point to
Right.
get involved, but.
The one that needs the
Well,
most,
that's
it's
right,
optional.
yeah.
Right, but-
75% of our, 75 to 80% of our tax bill,
Right.
there's an option. The one that has the least amount
Right.
has the most responsibility.
But anyone,
Makes sense.
if anyone has any ideas that we can save you money, and I'll be thinking about
Yeah,
it.
do
as
away
well.
with county government, just let the.
That's
go
what
back to the
well, I brought up,
I mean, there's how you save money, big
Yeah,
time.
I did a lot of research and had this houses assessed at $350,000 in states that did not have county government. And with the exception of New Hampshire, which was considerably more, however, they don't have a sales tax or a personal income tax, it was lower in every state, which was Connecticut, Rhode Island, even Vermont and most places, and Massachusetts, considerably less money. So it
Well,
was,
it's not gonna happen, so take it off the table.
you know, I don't give up, so
Anyone
I'm
else?
trying.
Just want to say the fire district, the vote passed. Most people, by the time you see this, would know that. So the vote did pass. It was a small turnout, but it did pass.
I think it was
So congratulations.
125 people. Yeah.
It actually, the vote was 91 yes to 34 no. So, small turnout, but at this point,
It might be
it
good for
passed.
them. What is it?
Pardon?
They don't have a lot of participation usually. Is that a good number for them or a low number?
Oh, I think that's a lot. They
I thought
don't
they usually had about 80 unless it was the Milltown.
Yeah, oh, well, that was a whole
That
different.
was- yes, that
My
was-
goodness, but that's, yeah, they don't usually, or if they have something with commissioners or.
The one, sorry, Bob, go ahead.
This one?
The one thing I had written about to Kenny is that they needed a ladder truck. And I think one of our, I really fall down on this, but I think we should be asking if developers are coming in and they're going to need this equipment, that they could be asked to donate. And I don't mean anything outrageous, and I'm not talking about the $186,000 a year that it'll cost us. But I do think that's something we should ask the fire departments what they're lacking or what they see is upcoming, because the letter that was given by the fire department was written 2 years ago, for example, on the Crossroads, saying that they didn't need any new equipment, but in fact, 2 years later, they did. And as I said, I would never think a developer should pay $2 million for a piece of equipment, but I do think that they could contribute to something like that. And I just think we should bear it in mind on other development that comes in and what the needs are, because listening to how much the ambulance calls now in Southeast and the problems other towns have had, I think we really have to look forward on this, look ahead and see what we can do to save some money.
I was just going to say, with the fire election, they restrict the vote to only 6 p.m. till 9 p.m., which is really unfair to a lot of people. I couldn't get there that night to vote. There is a provision in, I guess, the fire district law in New York State that they could extend it to 11 o'clock in the morning when they do votes, which I think is something they should look into. I did speak to a couple of commissioners about it. That would give more people an opportunity to vote. They also don't allow absentee ballots, which I think is absurd, because everyone should be given the opportunity to vote. A lot of people are disabled, they may not be able to leave the house, and they can't vote. So, and they could, if the fire commissioners vote to allow that, that would be something that they will be allowed to accept absentee ballots. But as it stands now, you have to show up, and it's only between 6 PM and 9 PM.
And I think it's a really good point, because I think we want to encourage voters in everything. And with this, especially, I knew people who were very good voters, but they had gone early to vote at the school, and they just didn't want to go back out at 6. So I think this is a really good request.
And I don't even think they realized the school election was going on. I think it was just a coincidence that it was the same day. It wasn't coordinated at all, but.
No, it was just hard for people to go
Right.
back out.
Yeah,
So,
no, exactly.
and I agree with you wholeheartedly on the absentee ballot.
Do you
So
want to draft a letter we'll draft a letter on behalf of the town and all of us sign that and
Yeah,
send it to
I would,
Yes.
I would definitely do that.
I've also asked Kenny, when I was speaking to him after this shared services initiative, I think it would be really helpful when we're doing our budget for someone to come from the fire department, like we've had with the museum and other things, and just basically, I mean, they really do a lot, and it would be really helpful for people to understand what they do and what they need, and especially.
I know they know what they do.
And what they need. So anyhow, I just thought, and Kenny thought it was a good idea, because I think there was a lot of misconceptions, for better or for worse, on the vote, so I think it might be helpful at budget time. Okay.
And just so the public knows, the town board has no control or say over the fire district at all. It's a separate government entity. They have their own elected fire commissioners. So I support Tony's suggestion, writing a letter, but we
Well, you
can't dictate.
suggested, I just say we all
Yes.
should do it, so I'm not gonna be the bad guy alone.
I'll be the bad guy. I'm always the
So
bad
we'll
guy.
all sign it together.
We'll
Yeah,
all
we
sign
can
it.
also,
We'll be the bad guy.
We'll all go
think,
down
no, I
in
think,
flames together, get it over them.
No pun intended.
I think it's really a positive, it would be very positive for the residents, so.
Okay.
And then just one other thing, I think maybe we should consider, I spoke to Lynn about it privately, if there's a hot topic issue, as there has been the last couple of zoning board meetings, I think maybe we should consider having the meeting recorded so people can watch it at home. There seems to be a lot of misconception about this crane proposal, and a lot of people don't come to the meeting, but the last 2 zoning board meetings, there were more people there than at our town board meeting.
And you
where
see
we
our
have 4
cameraman
people.
jumping up and down. He
Yes,
loves
I
it.
know, yeah. But I think,
Well, who's
we don't
gonna-
have to
who's-
do it
Who's
all.
gonna make, who's gonna make that determination? And how do we know?
Well, I think we kind of know when that's
I
a
would
hot.
say that's been since I've been in office, that's probably the only thing. So I don't think we're talking, I mean, I agree, there could be a problem if we
Pick and
don't
choose
do
or-
something, but I think overall, it's a good idea. And we usually, if you're looking at the agendas, who's the liaison? Are you liaison to zoning? And
Yes.
yes, okay. I mean, I think the liaison might have the best idea of
I mean,
when
if
we
it's
should.
somebody's shed or deck or whatever, I don't
Yeah, no.
think that's necessary.
Well, that's gonna be a part of it. You can't just go and.
Oh, no, you should
No,
take the whole meeting.
right, no. The whole meeting would be
Yeah,
taped
yes.
for that particular meeting, but only if there's something on the agenda that affects a neighborhood or a community.
Right.
And how about the
More-
architecture review board? How about the planning
Well,
board? Now
I mean,
you're
even-
gonna-
well,
Well, we can
AR
leave it up to our discretion.
Right, I
I
think
mean,
we
it's
could
not the
leave- right.
worst. It's not a mandatory, it would be discretionary in us.
Right.
And it could also be for planning board, because there's a lot of hot topics.
Right.
I think that we'll speak with our videographer and see what we would do in terms of case-by-case basis of having the recordings. Something like that, I think would be a good idea.
Right, and also which I find a little upsetting, the 2 zoning board meetings ago, there was 3 people missing from the zoning board, so they had minimum
They only
amount
had
of people
4.
there. And they didn't have enough people to take a vote, I guess, or they didn't want to take a vote, so
They
then.
they had enough people, but then they all have to concur, because it has to
Right.
be, you have to have 4.
So what happened was then they had to go to the next meeting, and the applicant had to have the attorneys here again, and they had to do a whole other presentation so that they could get everyone else. So I think for the applicants too, it's a little unfair that they have to keep coming back to do presentations. If it was recorded, the meeting, the zoning board members could watch the meeting at home and get the flavor. of what-
Bob, just so you understand, the law is that they have to have 4 affirmative votes.
Right.
So when there is not a full complement of people there, the board says to the applicant, it's your option. If you want us to vote tonight, we will vote tonight. If not, then we'll put it over until the next meeting. The concern is that of that 4 votes that are on the panel, they're not going to get a unanimous vote, and then that is statutorily a denial.
Right.
So
Right.
it's really an accommodation to them.
Right.
And there is always, on every board, there's always going to be problems. These boards meet, at least this one does, meets once a month. And there are times where we had, and I think this is an instance that we had maybe a resignation that hadn't been filled yet. So these things happen. And the fact that you would be able to tape it doesn't necessarily provide the necessary means for the member to say, well, I'm gonna abstain from voting because I wasn't here. They could still abstain from voting because they weren't there.
And they can, the minutes are extremely thorough for the.
But we do have the additional members that are now on the board, so hopefully that won't happen again.
Right, but regardless of which, I still think for the public, for hot ticket items, it would be nice to, record it, that way people can see it and know what's going on, because a lot of people don't have the ability to get to the zoning board meetings.
We'll find out how much it would be.
Well, it would be the same price as, whatever we're charged, I don't recall offhand.
But we could just,
I just see him raised, is that double, you said?
But sometimes there's more interest in zoning or planning board meetings, depending on the option.
Happy to do it for the same price.
Thank you.
Free, right?
Yeah.
Baker dozen? Lori, did
I
you
know
have
that
something?
in the past, Lori Bell, Assessor's Office, I know that we've talked in the past about the opportunity of possibly videotaping both the planning, the zoning, and maybe even the ARB meetings, just to have them, A, of record, and B, for the general public to be able to reference those meetings, like you said, Bob. And then in your question about how to determine which meetings, if you were going to pick and choose which ones to videotape, I know that I believe the planning board classifies actions and applications based on the size of the project. Maybe that might be what you use as a basis to determine which meetings might warrant the additional videotaping based on the application. I know in any given meeting, you have certain things on the agenda. Maybe that might be a rule of thumb, just as a suggestion. Maybe not every meeting.
Right.
oh, no, I think every meeting would be prohibited.
No, some
That
towns,
would be cost prohibitive.
Well, that was my point. Just
some
a-
towns do tape every meeting because they have they have different equipment. Sorry, Paul, cover your ears. But that, we don't have that option, so it would be prohibitive.
Yeah,
if
no,
we did
and
it.
you're right about the minutes, because I get copies of all of them. They are incredibly detailed, but I don't know if John Q. Public is going to go onto the town's website.
Oh, no, I know,
and
I
wanna
agree.
Read through those. It's easier to watch a
Well,
video.
But
believe me,
certainly
if they're
board
interested,
members.
they will.
Right.
So.
Right, but they won't know what they want to look at until they go onto their website and see what was on the agenda, and then they might have already wanted to be here, and by the time the minutes come out, it's 2 weeks
Yeah,
later.
the minutes take a while.
Yeah,
And
right.
reading minutes of meeting is not quite the same.
Not the same as being there. Agreed.
being there.
I agree.
So, exactly.
Thanks.
Okay,
And we're glad you did.
any other
Government is not
comments?
as spectators.
Yeah, sure.
I'll entertain a motion.
Participatory.
I'll make a motion to close tonight's meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Thank
all for
you.
coming.